Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. On behalf of Chief Executive Group, thank you for joining us for today's session to discuss the practical roadmap every CEO needs to grow at the pace of AI fueled change. I'm Dan Bigman. I'm the editor of Corporate Board Member and Chief Executive Magazines. I'm really glad to have you all here today. And I'm joined by Chris Happ, CEO of VirtuousAI, and Brian Ludden, founder and CEO at Ludex. Chris is a serial entrepreneur and a seasoned technology leader, helping technologies transform how they operate, scale, and win with data. He's developed the world's first business automation, intelligence, and outcomes platform for mid market businesses. Great to have you here with us. Thank you. And
That's Dan.
Brian is the founder and CEO of Ludex, a technology platform that's transforming the super fun world of card collecting with AI powered tools that help collectors manage and build profitable portfolios. He's a lifelong card enthusiast, as you'd expect, and a former college baseball player. Brian turned his childhood passion into a cutting edge tool that blends business and innovation with community. And it's great to have both of you here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks,
Uh,
Dan.
Before I turn it over our speakers, who are going to have a great conversation about how to bring AI in and scale with it, a few housekeeping items. First, we invite you to submit questions through the webinar to the webinar, and you can do that at the bottom throughout the webinar. And you can do that in the bottom. There's the chat button in Zoom, which you should all be familiar with, having all survived through the pandemic and lived on this for a long time. Just hit the chat button and you can pop your question in there, and either our participants will get to it during the conversation or we'll get to it during the Q&A. If you do have any technical issues, you have to excuse me. You want to submit the questions through the Q&A button that's at the bottom. And if you have any technical issues, you can submit them through the chat function, which is also located at the bottom of your screen, and our team will help you. Brian and Chris also have some poll questions that we encourage you to take part of. Those we're going to show as pop-ups on your screen. And with that, I turn it over to both of you and have a good show.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having us. Brian, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm good.
Where are you? What are you up to? What are you up to? It's been a while.
I am in Seattle this week, so just some business, closing some deals that have been on the table for probably 9 months, and it's definitely relates to this conversation because it's using our AI to help other companies scale and also be more efficient.
Ah, that's amazing. Well, congrats on that. I'm going to be in
Thank you.
Seattle next week. I'm at a Big Shock AI event. They're doing headshots at this event, and uh, one of my friends said my LinkedIn profile is incongruent with the current state of my hairline. So I'm getting a headshot in Seattle.
Well, yeah, that
Anyway,
changes for
I
sure.
digress.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. Um, your story is amazing. Everything about you screams entrepreneur. And I think what I've always appreciated about you is just how gritty you are. And I think that amplifies or exemplifies probably everybody that's in this audience, mid-market CEOs. We're a different breed. We have to do more with less. And you know all those challenges. But just take a minute, tell your story. How did you create what you did? What made you do it? I mean, you were a trader before. Just set the stage here. It's really quite a cool story.
Yeah, thank you. Everything's a journey in business. So I started my first company on the exchange of the Mercantile Exchange, the CBOE, and the Board of Trade. After college, I went to work under a company that traded S&P 500 derivatives, futures, and options. And I clerked for 2 or 3 years. I saw an opportunity saying, I think I could do this. The only issue was you needed $1.5 million cash in order to put into an account to trade and open your company. So I lived at home for 4 years and saved as much as I possibly could. And I was blessed to have some money. And I started that at 29. And really, it helped me with Ludex because what I saw is when I started that in 2000, we were pen and paper. It was math in our head, and it was very, very old school. By the time I was acquired in 2017 by an algorithmic trading company, a 9-year-old could do my job. And that was AI. Algorithmic trading is AI. And I saw that progression.
Yeah.
So when I was there under COVID, um, I wasn't a great employee. I was always looking for something else to do. So I was opening cards with my son, and these cards that come up these days have these like crazy parallels, and they're pink and blue and lasers. And I was like, what the heck is that? So I took time and I'm Googling it, and the fun meter was like crashing, and the frustration meter was going to the roof. And my son's like, Dad, can we just do this later? And I'm like, that night in bed, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, this was QR codes really got popular during COVID. I'm like, there's got to be an app out there. And I
Yeah.
took, 30, 45 days of just due diligence. And I'm like, first of all, is the industry big enough? Did they have a tech revolution? And could I pull this off?
Yeah.
And then I told my wife I'm starting this company, and she says, great. And I said, well, I'll be leaving my job May 1st. And she says, what? You're leaving your job? You're going full time into this? I said, yes, if I take someone's money, hard-earned money, I have to go full time into this, else it will fail. And really it was solving a problem for myself is really the reason why I founded Ludex.
Yeah. Very cool. No offense, but I don't think I could employ you. I doubt you were ever a great employee. It's kind of
I,
the
I had to
entrepreneur.
be at one time, but
Yeah,
no.
I suppose. I suppose. Well, very cool. Okay, so how many cards are going to get scanned? We're talking for, call it an hour. How many cards are going to be scanned?
We will get in this hour, we will have 20 to 30,000 cards scanned.
Really?
Yeah,
That many? Wow, that's
here's
crazy.
a good stat that I tell people. On a weekend, if you break the weekends where 10 hours is when people scan most 95% of the cards,
Yeah.
we will get 1,000 cards a minute for 20 straight hours. That's the weekends.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
and Chris, we just crossed over 300 million scans a week ago. So that was a
Wow.
big moment for us.
That I didn't realize it was such a big market. I was a collector as a kid, but I had no idea. All right, what's this card worth on the screen here? Who's this? Jaden Daniels. What's this worth?
That's a good one. I wish like that's a card that you'd pull out of a product that maybe you'd spend $100 on, and that's probably $150 card as you look at it
Yeah.
today. Like,
Yeah.
but if you get a grade, it could be worth 1,500 to 2 grand.
Yeah. 1,500 to 2 grand. Wow. Okay. Now I
And
get
that's
why
what
they're being scanned. Okay.
Yeah, and people want to know that, right? They want to know what they have, and they want to know what it's worth. And people just rip open these packs just to get kind of getting cards like that because there's some money in it. A big level of gamblers. I think there's a lot of degenerate gamblers that love the collecting space.
Yeah.
But it's all over from 9 to 90.
Wow. All right. I'm going to open it up to the audience. We've talked a minute, and we're about to talk, Brian, about your journey. Um, but just want to get some audience feedback to kind of level set for ours. And really, the question is, how do you feel in the audience? How prepared are you? And Brian, I want to take the audience through your journey as part of this, but I think this will help us understand kind of the lay of the land out there. We'll give everyone a minute, and I think you can just click the button on your screen, and then we'll see the results here in pretty real time. So, Brian, as people are doing that, we can see that if I'm just kind of eyeballing the results, we're seeing not a surprising bell curve, but call it, you know, threes and fours, 3, 4, 5. Let's just I'm going to put this to you. Why are we here? Outside of this isn't about Virtuous AI, my company being this amazing AI platform. Talk to me about just your journey and you built this tech and here we are and you've adopted this mindset. But why are we talking? How did this come about?
Well, it's everything comes in like its stages, right? So I started seeing this the power of this about a year ago. And for the first 6 months, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, just like sweating, being like, holy crap, how are we gonna, like, we need to change everything we're doing to um, compete in the world ahead. It's moving so fast. So what I did is I went into the company and I said, every Monday, every leader of my company has to come with an idea of how generative AI, what are you going to do with generative AI to make us more efficient? Um, and that started about 6 months ago. So slowly I started to be like less afraid of it and I started embracing it. But the biggest issue I had, and this is probably relatable to a lot of mid-market CEOs, we spent $8 million building this AI machine learning starting 4.5 years ago. And now the CEO comes in, me, and says, you know what, guys, we are at the fork in the road. Technology does this to people, that they do it to companies. And you either go left and stay the same, or you go right and you adapt. And technology turns over, in my opinion, every 4 or 5 years. If you choose the path left, you become a dinosaur, and dinosaurs die. And if you go to the right, now you're relevant and you're competing again and you have opportunities. But it was hard because people are like, "Whoa, we wasted all that money." I said, "No, we didn't. We got 2.5 million people on here with 300 million cards, and we have a brand that people recognize in this massive space. So that technology got us to where we are today, but we will die if we don't move it." So it was a progression, a migration, but I also started looking at it instead of being intimidated by something, it's like it was like I was swimming upstream, and then now I'm just like I'm just going to flow with it. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to learn more about it. My leaders are going to learn more about it, and we're going to use it. Um, and also too, I think if like Chris, I don't know your opinion on this, but if you just look at it, just instead of like AI and there's all this and generative and large learning models, it's just tech. It's just this really powerful piece of technology. So every company uses technology at some level. So I broke it down a little simpler to my people. Hey, we're putting new tech in. Well, it just happens to be LLM and stuff.
Massive.
So it was much easier for people like, oh, we're just doing new tech.
Got it. So I'm gonna just kind of double click on a couple of the things you said. And I want to just kind of get in your head a little bit as we walk through these. So um, you have this epiphany, and this is the advice I give mid market CEOs. I, I give it to any CEO, frankly, which is I can't unsee what I've seen with AI and the power of what it can do. And I think, just as you said, and I'll re-say it just to emphasize the point. People are at a moment right now with this technology where, in my head, you either sell your business, take what you can get for it, you put your head in the sand and say, "Nah, this AI thing, it's cool, but I'll just wait it out. In a year, it's a fad. It'll go away." Or you fully embrace it. And obviously, you're in camp three. I have a lot of customers, or they are now customers, but CEOs that looked at this and said, "Hey, I'm going to embrace AI." And my path was, I'm going to bolt on a bunch of different chatbots, or that's the easy thing to do. You've obviously gone the other way, which is, hey, this is strategic. This lives at the core. I'm going to adopt a platform, which is obviously aligned with my philosophy. We've created what we call business automation, intelligence, and outcome platform that sits next to you as the CEO, or sits at the executive table, and is weaved throughout the organization. How did you think about, or as you get to it, and you got to this mindset? How did you think about sort of this as your strategic direction for the company?
Good question. I think that for me, a beta test or let me put my toe in the water, it wasn't going to work with this, how quickly this was moving.
Yeah,
And companies want to stay in their comfort zone and they're like, I'll try it out. Well, by the time you try it out and make those decisions and then use it and then make that's 6 months, 8 months, 9 months of, wasted time. And so I have the trader in me is like, make the trade. Like the
yeah,
trade, you either
right.
make the trade or you don't make the trade. It's very, very binary as a trader.
Yeah,
And if you make the trade and it feels wrong after a month or 2 months, then get out of it as fast as possible. But you have to go all in on it. And I'm seeing a lot of companies tiptoeing, and those companies that tiptoe are just going to keep tiptoeing, and someone else is running. You'll never catch up to them if
yeah,
in the competitive world that we're in.
yeah. That's why we chose the mid market. Well, one, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I just that's how I think. But I started, the journey is often, hey, let's start and sell to the biggest people we can. And what I quickly realized with AI is it's just a bunch of dipping the toe in the water, bunch of process. Every single pilot, if you will, is going to take 12 to 18 months. And then the inertia of a large organization just ends up killing it. And what I've seen with AI, and I want to just understand, get your thoughts on this and some of the things that the paradigm shift that this enables. But what I see is, and what's amazing about the mid market is that what you just said, you guys can pivot, or we can pivot and adopt this in a way where the Fortune 500 just can't move that fast. They have plenty of benefits and plenty of advantages that we don't have, right? But our advantage is speed, pace. We can move on these things. And I don't think it has to entirely disrupt your business. I want to get into the how we've implemented this with you, but that ability to make the trade and then move is what sets us apart. And I think the opportunity that we have in the mid market, that the Fortune 500, who has all these the money, the time, the teams, all those things, don't have.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, I think it's a testament. I could even real life examples of where I'm at. I've been working on a deal with eBay for 2.5 years.
Yeah,
eBay can't move. Like they cannot take Virtuous's AI and put it into this 25-year-old car. I mean, you might have a better engine, but the car is still 25 years old, right? And
right.
and we signed a deal with them a month ago, and
Yeah,
now Walmart, we're signing a
correct.
deal with Walmart. Um, and it's because these companies now are being like, oh, shoot, we need Lunux's AI to help us more efficient, to become more efficient. And they can't build it. And so I love that. I love the point of like, let's mid markets, let's take advantage of what we're good at. And what we're good at is if you can make this good CEOs, it's not that they make all bad decisions, it's because they make no decisions. And
Yeah,
when they come into it, it's like they have the ability to be that like a speedboat around a cruise ship and use that as to our advantage as mid-market CEOs.
yeah. Congrats on those deals. That's great. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you. They move slow. They are definitely cruise ships.
I want to go in the just a little bit of the how, because um, I think a lot of us are we've used it personally. We use AI to help us in our personal lives, maybe craft emails or think through some things. So maybe the why, we've gotten there on the why, but what holds us up is the how. And on one hand, we can implement the kind of this multitude of pilots and dip the toe in the water, and we're saying, well, that's really not a strategic approach. If this is strategic to your business, that's not really a lasting approach, and that's going to lead to more pockets and silos of data and sort of fragmented outcomes. And the AI world is just in the last couple of weeks, there was an MIT survey or study that came out where in the Fortune 500, 95% of the AI pilots are failing for all the reasons we've said. It's a pilot. It's not strategic. It has legs at the beginning, but it lacks um, tie-in to core outcomes that the company's looking for, and so it fails to deliver on results. So I just want to unpack how and some of the things. I don't want to get into the technical details with you. I think that will lose a lot of people, ourselves included. But with you guys, as we thought about this, and sort of how we started, it strikes me we started at a greenfield opportunity for the business rather than which was really important to your growth, rather than some of the brownfield existing process, which might have been harder to disrupt. How did we, how did you think about that? How did we, um, how do you think about sort of implementing AI when you've said, hey, this is going to be strategic? How do you start to, develop a roadmap in your head as a CEO?
Yeah, I think let me go back to the infancy because I think it might be relatable to people. Is AI is a buzzword now, and there's
Yeah,
millions of companies that are like, oh, AI, AI, AI. It's really intimidating, and we brought three, four, five partner or potential partners in, and it didn't feel right. It really wasn't AI. And it's so hard to find a good partner. It just is. No one cares about your business more than you do. Uh, and so that was like anxiety provoking. It's like, how do I get going here? Even if I want it and I believe in it, who's the guy that I want to partner with? Um, and we brought you guys in your company, and and then what we obviously liked what you guys were doing. It was different. It's smart. I think it really was a hands-on approach and very intimate relationship to help us. But our key and our differentiator is getting cards trained as fast as humanly possible. So our AI recognizes the new stuff. The old stuff has already been in. And it was a cumbersome manual process. I mean, my guys work so hard, God bless them. They're great team members, but I know that there's a better way. And so what I did is I said, I'm going to open up a revenue stream with Virtuous. We don't do comic books. And I said, Chris, go do comic books for us. And we know how long it would take us to do that. And you go do that for us. And so, in a sense, it gave me the ability to open a new revenue stream, a new market, and then really let you guys do your thing and what you're good at. That was our use case for a virtuous company, but it's hard to find partners is pretty much the difficult thing.
yeah, it was interesting. We started with you with that revenue stream, and then your COO is now adopting the technology internally, and we're looking. It's my view in the future is you look at the world that we live in. 25,000 SaaS applications. We have 8 business functions, which is an incredible ratio. The average mid-market company has 35 to 50 SaaS applications in use in the company to the tune of $5,000 per head count. So what we started with this really cool greenfield use case for you, but because it's strategic, we're now looking at what are the other systems that are in use at Ludix that we can build this self-learning brain, not only about the business, but about our customers, about our prospects. And um, so that was really the exciting part for me, and sort of how we introduced it. In that, again, we tackle a greenfield opportunity. It doesn't have to be that way, but I really liked how we phased that with you guys, and sort of introducing the technology that way throughout the organization.
Yeah, well, and there's all, yeah, I agree. There's the green field's the way to go. If you could find that, every company is going to have something that they're working on that they like wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, this would be great for this,
Yeah,
and so everyone has that. But the one thing that I think, and this is my opinion only, Chris, is
yeah,
there's the technology moat, that Ludex had is now like a river, like a stream, a creek. It's like so small. This AI is going to diminish the value of technology, not and move it forward so fast, but it's also going to normalize what people can do and how they can create technology. But I believe there's four pillars, and every mid-market company should be concentrating. This is what Ludex is concentrating on.
Yeah.
It's partnerships, it's relationships, it's brand, and it's first party data if you're able to have that. The
Yeah.
gender amount, they can't touch that stuff. Like if I started to compete with Ludex, I couldn't get and talk to the CEO of eBay. Like, hey, I use Chat GPT and look at this app I have. Here, I'll show it to you. Like that, partnerships, relationships, brand, and data, first party data is intimate to each company and intimate to what we're probably good at as mid-market CEOs. We need to touch people. We're out there on boots on the ground. Let's use that to our advantage also.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what you think you're good at as an organization, and I'm sort of paraphrasing back to you, but what you think you're good at as an organization is this: hey, we're going to build this amazing technology that, and you did that, can we're going to preload every single card, and we're going to identify it as you scan it, and the mental shift that you guys were able to make to say, oh wait, AI understands it now. It has the ability. It's been trained as a base learning on all of the things that we were doing. And how do we leverage that? And we don't need to spend money in that area in the same way we did, but let's amplify who we really are and what our business really is versus we have to sort of invest all of this money in something that we can now get with AI. So we can really focus on what makes us different and that moat, as opposed to we have to spend a bunch of money just to get caught up to what someone bigger with more money could do. So it really, in essence, it's freeing. I remember having the conversation where you can kind of say, do we need to be a tech company in the same way that we consider ourselves before, or can we think of our business as what are we? The four things you mentioned, like that's what we really want to focus on and be. And how can this superpower, this new technology, help us do that?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, is that how I look at it is this is helping, this is allowing me as a CEO to go out and develop the relationships and partnerships and brand. Um, and it's also enabled us to put money in, yeah, in other those four pillars, but there's what I think every mid-market CEO is looking for different ways to make revenue. And I'll go back to my trading days. It's like, yeah, you make a trade, but you better hedge it. And how many times can you hedge it?
Yeah.
And I came to the investors and said, listen, I need four ways to make money, right? And so if one is taken away from us, then there's still success. We can still have success. And unfortunately, the technology has been diminished, right? And that was our pillar. If that was only all we had, I wouldn't be on this conversation. I'd be a failed CEO.
Right.
I'd be one of those, the collateral damage of technology moving so fast. But what we're doing is we're setting up the first ever sports data marketplace.
Yeah.
They've never had it. So we're using our first party data for insights, newsletters, etc., for Fanatics and eBay and Walmart to come in and get to know collectors because we have that data. The other thing is we're using our AI model as software for businesses, SaaS model, B2B, where they can list cards instead of 50 cards an hour on eBay, we could put 500 on using our technology.
Yeah.
Those are two big ways. And then advertising. If you do that well, more people come to your app, we can make money in advertising. So for us, it's like the using Virtuous has freed me up to make those other deals that instead of throwing money, keep throwing expensive money into tech that's going to get diminished in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm out here making relationships.
Yeah.
and partnerships.
Well, I want to hear from the audience. That obviously we laid out sort of how you approach this. I'm curious what from the audience where their sort of pain points. We had talked about this greenfield approach, and that's a great way. It doesn't have to be the way. A lot of people will say, I have a burning bush or I have a pain point that I want to solve. I'm seeing a lot of success right now in the sort of operational efficiency area where we can use the power of AI platforms like ours or to automate processes internally. Seems like we have a pretty good mix where people are focused on obviously all of these things. These are important. These are things that keep any CEO up at night. But seems like efficiency is a focal point for the group. So I wanted to um, I guess just get your feedback, Brian. You did you see the poll results? Were you able to see
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think about that? Does that surprise you? Um, that
No,
sort of
honestly, like I look at all those, and you can do one like virtuous. That was my kind of checklist, all those. So I would have been all the above.
yeah,
And if you think about it, they all drive into revenue at some level, right? It's
yeah,
either improving CAC or LTV or whatever
yeah,
efficiencies inside. You could save money, but I think what you can do all with if you get the right partner. All that
yeah,
stuff happens. You can't have one without the other if you do it well with a good partner.
yeah. I'm gonna. I think we have just a couple more minutes before we want to open up to questions from the audience. I see a couple already coming in. But I think these are most useful where it's less us talking and more dynamic interaction. I want to just kind of bring up our playbook. I know you and I have talked about this, but the importance of thinking big. So we have this strategic AI at the core, and I want to be able to. That's the end game. I want to embed this throughout my organization, as you said, make the trade. And then the ability, though, to say, hey, how are we going to think that way, but start in sort of manageable chunks? And so we say, think big, start small. And we talk through your playbook there. How do you think about sort of progressing this? So we have the opportunity. We talked about a new revenue stream unlocks, some of the operational things. How do you think about, or what's your advice for as a CEO is progressing this in their organization, or how do you think big and start small?
I think it's a huge a lot of people get paralyzed by thinking too big and then being like, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming, right? Like if
Right.
like and I everyone I did it. I'm like, holy crap, if we do this, like this is the total shift and did we waste money and like whatever. But
Yeah.
the fact is I said to you, um, let's get on first base. Like, let's just do something to get on first base. I don't care if it's a hit by pitch, drop third strike, a walk, but let's do something
Yeah. Yeah.
small to get this relationship and get on first base. And then if first base feels good, we'll hopefully round the bases. But I think that's the thing that is uncomfortable for a lot of CEOs in mid-market companies because it's overwhelming. But it
Right.
doesn't have to be. It's like, let's just do one little thing here and see
Yeah.
how it feels.
Yeah. Have a plan to as you say, round the you know
And also, Chris,
but
it's also a better way for your employees and your leaders, right? If you're like, hey, we're just going to try this thing, and everyone's like, oh, okay, that's not. But if I came out and said, everything's going to be different, we're
right.
stripping everything down, even though in my mind that I know we're going there,
Yeah.
but telling them right away will overwhelm them, and they probably leave and be like,
Yeah.
that's insane. So
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, it can be an affront. And I think a lot of these, when you unpack some of the results on why these pilots at the Fortune 500 aren't working, you have board pushing it, CEO says adopt. Somewhere in that organization, this is a threat to somebody's job or entire departments. And
yeah,
so um, the ability to make people comfortable with this change and find people in the company who are willing to adapt to it. So it's not necessarily a direct competitor to them, and it can be viewed as a partner with them.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that, but you're 100% right. It's gonna
Yeah,
by the fifth level, someone's gonna be like, "Wait, this could impact my job. I'm not gonna put the stamp of approval on it." But
yeah,
I mean, but that's what happens. These big companies, they're so vulnerable right now
right.
because of that mentality. I mean, Blockbuster had everything. I mean, they
Yeah,
had everything. We don't need Netflix. Well, Netflix took you over.
yeah,
Uber to taxi, to taxis. I mean, there's every industry had something, and it was a smaller company that came over and did something bigger and became bigger than what the competitor was and the market leader was at some point. But yeah, they definitely, I could see that being any threat that it's going to be hard for them to rubber stamp
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and well, and to your point, the beauty is you're closer to it than in a 100,000 person shop where and you can work with people on it. At the end of the day, I tell my team, look, the skill set that I value most is curiosity and ability to work with this as a partner and teach it. It's a incredible new piece of technology, but it needs human partnership to be really successful in strategic thinking. And so I value that more than anything. So I try to create a comfort with the team that this is about how you interact with it. It's not about you competing with it because you're not going to beat it. It's been trained on everything ever, the entirety of the written word, but it needs context and it needs to know about our business to be successful. And that's where you come in and so it's your partnership with it that really creates success. Um, well, Brian, I want to open it up to the floor for questions. I think, Dan, will you come back on and help guide us through some of the Q&A?
Absolutely. And guys, great session, really good conversation. I'll dive right into what some of the folks out there are asking. First question we have there is when starting utilization of AI in a company, how do you set a policy that outlines the expectations of use? And Brian, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you did. And then Chris, you talked to so many companies. What are you seeing as emerging best practices there?
That's a great
Yeah, and I
question.
think for us it was trusting our partner. We don't know what we don't know, um, but we know we need to do this. Like we don't have a choice. So really, it was giving some power over to Chris's company and saying, if you were sitting in my chair, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And what KPIs are we going to hold you accountable to that's fair to both of us? So I would say that I kind of leaned into the partner because I didn't know exactly what the KPIs and the value was because I didn't know enough about it.
What did you learn out of that? What kinds of things did you take on as a result of the conversations with Chris? And then Chris, we'll jump back to you about the what you're seeing other places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was what I learned is there's the efficiencies of AI into what we are in our use case was monumentally different and quicker and faster and better than anything we've ever built
So
internally.
if you had been setting out the original policies and KPIs on your own, you might have undershot the mark. You might have said everybody double your productivity when you really could have been 100xing your productivity.
Yeah, exactly. I would have put the cap on it. And Chris would have been like, "Oh, no, dude, what are you doing? That's nothing." I'm like,
So
"Okay, well,
So
yes,
Chris,
that's a
what do
good
you see?
point,
What are you
Dan."
seeing? You work with lots of folks. What are you seeing emerge as the best practices for kind of setting the expectations for what this can be and what how to use it in a company?
Yeah. Failure should be rewarded in the sense that we've
The
got to
small
try.
F failure, not the capital F.
That's
Like
right. Let's not light a bunch of money on fire and intentionally. But um, learning is really important. Interaction with it, curiosity is really important. Um, it's a paradigm shift. If the ability to rethink, and Brian, I appreciate you saying it that way, where you'll hear me say, I can't unsee the way AI works, but it's fundamentally different. I'll go back. Our founding story, our founder was working on brain computer interfaces. And I promise I won't get super techy, but the way they worked or historically was that you would put an ECG on the brain, which monitored the electron movement. And so as you move the hand, it's going to track what you did. And you could theoretically map the brain movement to every single hand position that happened. I mean, that's a near infinite set of possibilities. So instead, he said, hey, can I throw away the noise and understand generally the patterns that are happening and then predict hand movements? But this is a fundamental shift in how you think about solving a problem. You basically say, I'm going to go predict the answer based on everything I know, as opposed to collect all of this information and then be 100% sure of the outcome because I've mapped this infinite set of possibilities. So when I look at companies, we have to really embrace focusing on an outcome and then encouraging people to be creative with it, because you can solve problems in ways that you've never thought of before. But if you're not interacting with it and you're not encouraging people to be in there and thinking and learning how this works, then you're not really going to get there. That's why I think the pilots don't work either, because you're just sort of accepting what it is as opposed to saying, what is the strategic outcome? What is the information I need and the patterns I sort of need in here? And how do I get people to work with it to get there?
Do
So
you
you
see, and
really,
I see this a lot, that one of the fundamental errors people are making with the adaptation of this is they're bringing the software mindset to something
yeah,
that's completely new, right? This is not software. Can you talk a little bit about this, like why you're gonna get hallucinations, you're gonna get, because it's not the same thing that you're used to when you bought Excel years ago.
yeah. Think about this. So for the entirety of our lifetime, what software was supposed to do was be deterministic. It gave you the same answer every single time. Well, that's not how we as humans think. Like this conversation, we didn't script this. This just happened. We flowed organically. And that's more of the way AI works, is that it takes the information coming in and then is working its way to an outcome. But you may have a different outcome because it's more of a predictive solution. And what really makes and why we landed on a platform and strategic approach is mixing these two. You want the benefit of a determined outcome in specific situations. When I say what's 2 plus 2, I want four every time.
Yep.
But if I ask you to think about how do we grow sales, I want to look at some sales data, but I also want you to be creative in your thinking.
Yeah,
And
you
so
don't
how
want
do
the
we
two
work
plus
with
two
the,
answer,
yeah,
which you could have just Googled, right? You could
that's
have
right.
gotten out of a textbook. I
That's
want to
right.
make sure we get to some of the other questions that we have here because they're good ones. CEO of a medical products team. How do I get my team up to speed quickly with AI? We get this question all the time. What online courses would you recommend or other ideas you might have had? I mean, you've touched on this a little bit, but if we want to get our folks moving, and Brian, I really appreciate what you said about your Monday thing, where you were like, all right, every Monday, come with ideas. But how do you get that to be more programmatic? How do you really get people to start being curious and flex the AI muscle in an organization?
Chris, you want to handle that, or you want?
Sure. I'll be biased in the sense that you have to start. Now, you could use a platform like ours, which is interactive, where every user in the company can go put in we call it a prompt, but like a Google search, where you question and answer and build a rapport. You could also use, there's off the shelf. A lot of people have probably heard of ChatGPT. You could use that individually and have people. There's a quite a nice one for free, or I think $20 a month. But individually, they can start to see how this works. Um, Brian, you may add to that what you guys did at your company. I think you got to get started though.
Yeah, and I think it was for me. It was like I'm the CEO I am is I hire leaders that do stuff way better than I do, and it's the old cliche. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't want to be, but I also had to get my team to rally around it, and so I was very thoughtful and patient and saying like this. I don't want my developers to feel threatened by this. What I did is I turned it around and said, "Hey, if we use this." we will become more efficient. The company will make more money. We won't have to hire developers. And in the end, if Ludix, when Ludix is bought or gets more
When, yeah, that's the big
successful,
one, not if.
then you have a bigger piece of the pie. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I
I
get that.
hadn't thought about it that way. Wow, dilution, it's a thing.
Yeah, human dilution in the company is a thing. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
that's how I got like the team behind it.
That's great. Another question comes in from someone named Bruce Carter. Big challenge for a small custom manufacturing business like ours is one, how do we understand what it can reasonably do for us? Two, where do we deploy it? And three, how to integrate with our core systems like our ERP system. ERP, the four-letter word that has three letters in it, right? So how do folks go and get going like that? How do they figure out what to use it for, especially in something discrete like manufacturing? And then, how do they then link it together with things like their ERP? I've heard this a lot also. That how do we make it play with all the other widgets we have working?
I'll answer,
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah.
because
Please, Brian.
yeah. So for me, it's finding the right partner. And when you find the right partner, they'll guide you in that. Like you don't know what you don't know. We said that earlier. I said that earlier, but you got to find a partner and let them just go and say, like, this is what we could do for you. And then trust them. So I had the same thing. How's it going to affect our model and our database and this and this? And I'm like, let's just do something. Like, let's affect the smallest piece, but then let's start ideating on what could be big. It's that big, small mentality. Let's not think of how it integrates into all of it. Let's integrate it into something.
And Chris, I do want to get to you for that question, but Brian, you have said this a couple times that you went and got a partner. Joe Johnson asked, can you go deeper into your comment? Get a good partner. How did you know Chris was going to be a good partner? This is not obviously to sell you guys, but
Yeah.
what was the vet? How did you think about it? I hear this all the time from mid-market guys. Give me a name, give me a somebody. There's a lot of snake oil out there right now. How did you know that this wasn't snake oil, and how did you vet this guy?
Well, no, having some failures, I guess it would be like, why did you marry that girl? Instead, but it's the same. The point being is what I appreciated and respect about Chris is Chris was willing to hold the hand and prove something out before we jumped in big time. And so it was kind of like, okay, let's feel this out. What's their idea? What do you see in our company? And can you do something for us to prove that you're not a snake oil salesman? And Chris was willing to do that. And it cost, I mean, his team put some hours into it for free just to get us comfortable to get the deal and to get the partnership.
There's a question a little further down, which I think it was one I wanted to ask with the last couple of minutes we have here. It seems one of the risks that people have with AI is that they can focus on just on the productivity gain. And you can end up with something where every part of your company is 10% more efficient than it was before, but you completely miss the boat that your industry is now irrelevant because it's been migrated to AI. How do we make sure that we're asking transformational questions? We're asking big enough questions, Chris, about AI and what it can do for our businesses. Because as you've said a bunch of times on this really is an opportunity for mid-market companies to jump ahead while bigger companies are trying to figure out how to work with it. How do we take a big enough risk, take a big enough bite at this and make sure we're doing that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer it in two ways. I love this question in that we're thinking about the interactivity between departments. I can go to marketing and say, get me more leads in the door. And they can do that. But if those leads aren't quality, they're not going to be profitable. And then if it's not profitable, do I even want those customers to come back? I use that good LTV. So just the notion that we should be thinking about how these levers play against each other and using technology like a Bayo platform to look at these holistically, I think is really important. But one of the things that I look at when I look at the evolution of AI, we can continue to train these foundational models or these foundational layers of AI on the written word and data that's out there. And they've consumed so much data now they're making up data to be able to do this. But what's really important, and in fact, I think I can run a business, any business, one I've never seen with AI as a probably a C plus CEO. And we've done it with things in our company where I know nothing about farming. We were able to take satellite footage, and I think I could run. And in fact, we told one of the farmers they were growing pumpkins in an area they didn't realize because the AI could deduce that. So the point is, you can be an average CEO of a business now just with all the information that's out there. But what you cannot do is be your different. So as you look at what makes you unique, and I'll go back to what Brian did. I think you guys thought what made you unique was this tech, was the ability to scan all these cards and put them in the system. But and that helped you build a business and get a moat. But in the future, that capability exists already in the technology and the ad that's available. So how do you take that and say, okay, what really is our business? That was the four things Brian said. So it's really about thinking, what is your different? How are you different? And that's the beauty. You don't need a lot of people. You can be a mid-market company. And I really believe um, deep at the core that the next set of Fortune 500 companies will be in this cohort where we've just said, I'm going to move faster. I'll tell Fortune 500 CEOs, give me your 10 best people and $10 million, start, Fortune 500 company.ai and let the two compete. Because I don't think you can do it when you have too many people and you have too much process. We have this opportunity in the mid market to go, why am I different? I now have this technology that levels the playing field, which gives me all of the advantages the mid market has, or the Fortune 500 has, but I don't have the other encumbrances, and I can go really fast.
It's great. Well, I'm sorry to say that that is all the time that we have for today. I know that there were a lot of questions that we did not get to, but luckily, we're going to be including in a follow-up note some contact information from Chris, Brian, so you'll be able to ask your questions directly of those guys. They've agreed to be at your disposal to answer questions following up if you want to follow up with them. I want to thank both of you, obviously Virtuous AI for making this possible, and Chris, Brian for sharing your time and expertise with us. Um, as I said, we're going to follow up with an email, and if you do have more questions, please reach out directly to them. Guys, thank you so much. Terrific conversation.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
And
thanks, Dan.
LinkedIn's the
Pleasure
best
to
way.
be on.
Yeah,
Great to see
LinkedIn's
you,
the best
Brian.
way.
Safe
Yeah.
travels.
All right.
Thank you
So
to the audience, and thank you so much for joining us today. And please join us again for another one of these soon. Obviously, AI is at the core of everything people are thinking about these days. So anything we can do to help you with that, we'd like to be able to do. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you soon.